Hi everyone. By the end of this video, you will clearly understand how your course is assessed, how your performance in that course is scored, and how it all adds up across courses to your final degree evaluation. Let's start off with assessments. So far in your undergraduate or high school, you could probably go by a course and literally not study anything until your final exams. Now, this is almost impossible abroad, as assessments of various kinds are spread out throughout your course. Now, let's discuss some types. First, we have is assignments. These can be written or digital assignments requiring you to solve some theory or practical problems based on a field of study and course. Now, let's understand it through some examples. This is one of the theory assignments given for CS 685 Advanced NLP course at UMass Amherst. Now, the purpose of this assignment is to set your mathematical baseline level for this advanced level course. And this is one of the coding assignments offered by the same course via Google Colab. By implementing this framework, it adds to your capabilities that you can use a BERT model and use transfer learning like techniques to improve the model performance. Now, these assignments can require a few hours to multiple days for completion, more likely the latter, and they are spread out throughout your course around bi-weekly basis. Now, the second type of assessment is quizzes. A quiz is a question-answer style assessment taken by the professor either online through the portal or during the live class session. Depending on the course and professor, you can expect to have between 0 to 3 quizzes per course. Now, the third type is exams. These are more similar to midterm or final exams that you're already used to giving in your undergraduate degree. And most of the times, they are also spread out throughout your course. You can expect anywhere from 1 to 3 exams per course. And then along these things, you can expect to work on a course project or research paper as an additional component of a course. So as you can see, the courses are already pretty intensive and sleepwalking through a course is almost impossible. Now, how are these assessments and eventually the entire course scored? For this, let's understand grading now. I will discuss the most common grading structure followed across the world, and you will be able to easily relate to other grading structures from it. And this grading system that I'm going to discuss is the most common in the US for graduate studies. It is called the 4-point scale system. Let's understand it step by step. First, we have GP, which is called the grade point. It is on a scale of 0 to 4 points and has equivalent letter grades, hence called grade point. Now, here's the grade point to letter mapping where A has a grade point of 4, A minus has that of 3.7, and B has actually 3 variations. B plus at 3.3, B at 3, and B minus at 2.7, and so on. Now for each course, you will earn a grade point and its equivalent letter grade based on your performance. Then we have grade point average, which is in short called GPA. Simply put, this is an average of grade points that you earned across the courses for that particular term. For example, you received A in 2 courses and A minus in 1 course. Your GPA would be 3.9. Note that above definition, an example was based on an assumption that credits for each course were same. And I did this for simplicity for now. The real definition of GPA is the weighted sum of grade points for each course multiplied by its credits over the sum of all credits earned for that semester. Now let's take the previous example again to understand this better. Let's assume you got A in course 1 and it was of 3 credits. In course 2, you got A and it was worth 2 credits. And in course 3, you got A minus and it was worth 4 credits. Now your GPA for that entire semester would be 3 into 4.0 plus 2 into 4.0 plus 4 into 3.7, and then we divide this by 9, giving us 3.867 as your final GPA. Then finally we come to CGPA. This stands for Cumulative Grade Point Average. You know, everyone knows this name, but only few understand the breakdown between GP, GPA, and CGPA. CGPA is basically the weighted average of GPA across each term and its equivalent credits. Now let's understand this also through a quick example. Let's say in term 1 or semester 1, you got 3.9 GPA and you took 9 credits. In term 2, you got 4.0 GPA and you took 12 credits. In term 3, you got only 3.4 GPA and you took 9 credits. Then your final CGPA will be calculated as 9 into 3.9 plus 12 into 4 plus 9 to 3.4 divided by 30, which is the total credits. This gives us 3.79 as your final CGPA. Now, once you complete all of your courses, your final grade for your master's degree is this CGPA. Now, from this 4.0 system, you see that F is the failing grade. But is it actually? The story is different for undergraduate and graduate programs. The bar to pass the graduate courses is far higher, apart from the fact that they're already harder too. Let me explain this with an example. Let's say you got a C minus in a 3 credit course, which has 1.7 as your grade point. But would you be able to actually make this count towards your master's degree requirements? The answer is no for most master's programs, because most master's programs require at least a C grade or higher, which is actually 2.0 grade point in a course to make it count towards your final credit requirements for the degree. Even the passing grade varies from program to program. For example, UMass MSCS requires B grade for a course for it to be considered passed, while Duke MSCS and UCLA MSCS requires B minus grade as a passing grade, and UFL MSCS has C grade as a minimum required grade. So far, we have discussed how earning a grade point leads to our overall CGPA and whether that grade point is counted towards your degree. But we haven't covered how that grade point is actually computed. Let's understand that next with the help of a real example. Now, this is the grading policy for CS 682 Neural Networks, a Modern Intro course offered at UMass in fall 2020. FYI, I took this course as well during my master's degree. As you can see here, even the final project component in itself has multiple check-ins throughout the semester. Now, assuming the assignments were out of 50 points, final exam out of 100 points, and project component out of 100 points, and let's say you scored 40 out of 50 in your first assignment, 35 out of 50 in your second, and 40 out of 50 in your third assignment, 80 out of 100 in your final exam. For project, let's assume the grading breakdown is as follows. Initial proposal weighing 5%, midterm project presentation weighing 20%, final project presentation weighing 25%, final project report weighing 50%. And let's say your scores for each project portion are as follows. Project proposal 5 out of 5, midterm project presentation 10 out of 10, final project presentation 9 out of 10, and the final project report 10 out of 10. Now the final project score in our example is equal to 5 plus 20 plus 22.5 plus 50 equaling to 97.5 out of 100. Now your final score for the course will be based on weighting per component. In our example case, final score will be equal to 15% into 40 out of 50 into 100 plus 15% into 35 out of 50 into 100 plus 15% into 40 out of 50 into 100 plus 15% into 80 out of 100 into 100 plus 40% into 97.5 out of 100 into 100, giving us 85.5 as the final score. In our example, you can see that the project performance outshines and also impacts significantly your final score. Now, I will not go into the scoring for this one, but I will share another grading policy for a theory-only course for you to get an idea. This is the grading policy for CS 611 Advanced Algo course offered at UMass. You can see for yourself, even though it's a theory-only course, the emphasis on homeworks, which comprises of 6 assignments, carry the most weight, and finals carry only 20% weightage. Okay, so now we have the score out of 100. Now, how to scale this computed score on a 4-point scale? It actually depends on the professor. He may choose to perform grading on the curve, or he might do an absolute scaling of the score in grade buckets. If he or she chooses to grade on a curve, then your score would be computed based on how others performed in the class and given a grade accordingly. Now, I won't go into the maths in detail on how it gets computed, as it is not important for you to understand. But to give a general sense, professor chooses a certain score to be an average score and then computes this adjusted score for each student based on the curve using a similar formula as this one. Once you have the adjusted score, let's say out of 100, then it is simply scaled down to 4.0 scale and you get your final grade point. Now your 85.5 total score can get you an A, that is 4.0 grade point, or even a B depending on how the class has performed. Now another important point to remember is the professor and the entire team of instructors want you to succeed in the course. So they will try their best to get good grades to as many students as possible using the above techniques. And let's say for some reason you could not get a good grade for a certain course and you don't want it to impact your GPA and your overall CGPA. In those scenarios, for most graduate programs for a limited number of courses, you are able to convert this graded course to a pass-fail course. Now this course in the end counts towards your degree for credit requirements, but it is not included in the GPA or CGPA calculation. Most students are not even aware of this, and they don't even leverage this benefit if they score bad in a particular course, and then it affects their overall CGPA negatively. Now, how important is CGPA? What is the bare minimum required? It all depends on your goals. Whether you want to be in an academic career, you want to go for a professional job, let's say you want to apply for an internship, in the end, having a good CGPA certainly helps you. There is no question about that. Now, how you can achieve a great CGPA is strategic and should be based on your goals. I will cover the most common scenarios and action plans in the post-admits course for masters in the US. But for now, having learned the basics of grading and assessments and other terminologies in the fundamentals video, we will finish what we started in the first video. That is, understanding the requirements of various master's programs. And that will be in the next video. I will see you there.